So now we've covered as a consonant and as a monophthong. Next we'll deal with a group of vowels that are often referred to as R-colored vowels. This term is meant to capture the fact that in these vowels there's a part of the vowel that doesn't sound very much like and then there's a part of the vowel that does sound very much like In other words, the vowel changes its quality from beginning to end, starting as non-rhotic and ending as rhotic. Well, we have a word for a vowel that changes its quality notably during its production. We call such vowel a diphthong, and that's how I want you to think of these vowels. They're rhotic diphthongs. Like any diphthong, they'll have a starting quality and an ending quality. And also, like other diphthongs, there is a strong bias toward using lax vowel variants to represent the elements of these diphthongs. So, in a word like tear, we'd transcribe the rhotic diphthong using the lax high front vowel and the upside-down R. For tear, we would use epsilon and upside-down R. For tar, we'd use script A and upside-down R. For tor, we use the open O and upside-down R. Note that this is one place where using the open O character is not optional. Even if you don't produce the open O vowel as different from the script A vowel, you should still use the open O symbol in diphthongs. This goes for oi, and it goes for or as well. We also have a word like tour. Some people pronounce this as a homonym of tor, while other people produce it with a different rhotic diphthong that could be transcribed like this. This rhotic diphthong is much less common than the others, and it's completely absent in some speakers' productions. Finally, we should note that a rhotic element could come after a diphthong, such as in a word like tire. Where this happens, it's best to think of the vowel as a rhotic triphthong. In other words, it's a single vowel that has 3 component parts. For some speakers, there will also be a rhotic triphthong in the word tower, although with this word it's much more common that the vowels are split between 2 different syllables and perhaps separated by the glide consonant w. In these rhotic diphthongs, we'll always use the upside-down R symbol to represent the rhotic element. Now, this is not a universally accepted convention. Some transcribers prefer to use schwa in this situation, and you'll see that this convention is represented in Heidi Harber's Phonetics Workbook, which is a recommended supplemental text for this course. Still other transcribers will persist in considering these post-vocalic R sounds to be consonants, and not vowels at all. Be prepared for this variation in others' transcriptions, and be similarly prepared to think of these sounds as diphthongs that are transcribed using the upside-down R symbol in this class. In a rhotic diphthong, remember that the non-rhotic part is a different gesture from the rhotic part. So only use this kind of diphthong notation when there are really 2 parts of the vowel. A common transcription error is to represent the sound as a diphthong, like this, with schwa followed by the upside-down R. This is a transcription influenced by spelling. In standard orthography, there's always some other vowel letter written together with the letter R to represent rhotic monophthongs. But phonetically, we want to adhere to the one sound, one symbol rule, and be sure to represent monophthongs as single units. The trick to this is to attend to the sound. If the sound is steady state and doesn't change through its production, then the sound is a monophthong, and it should have only one symbol. If the sound changes during its production, starting as non-rhotic and then becoming rhotic, then it's a diphthong, and it should have more than one symbol representing it. By sticking with these conventions, we can adequately represent the phonetic reality of the different types of the rhotic sounds that we produce. To recap the categories of R sounds that we've described so far, first, is a consonant when it comes right before a vowel. Second, is a vowel, and specifically a monophthong or steady-state vowel, when it is the vowel in a syllable. And finally, is a vowel, and specifically part of a diphthong or perhaps even a triphthong, when it comes immediately after another vowel in a syllable. These should be the only situations in which you'll see rhotic sounds during this course. Using these 3 rules, you should be able to handle any rhotic sound you encounter this term.